The Tesla Model Y has very quickly become one of the most popular electric cars in the world, and it's coming up fast on becoming one of the most popular cars of any kind. The Model Y is actually starting to outsell the Tesla Model 3 in some markets and is in huge demand around the world. There's a lot of hype behind this electric SUV, but the tricky thing is that it's become a little difficult to know exactly what you're getting when you get a Model Y. This is because the spec sheet has been changing a lot lately, and Tesla aren't really into marketing and explaining to the public what they're up to. It can be hard to keep track of, even for someone who reads about this stuff regularly. So today we're going to give you an update on everything the Tesla Model Y is offering for the summer of 2021. So let's get started. Let's start with the latest and most significant change on the Model Y this year: no more radar sensors. Every other car on the road that has any kind of adaptive cruise control, lane keep or collision detection has used radar to decide how close it is to hitting something. It's a reliable system where radar waves shoot out of the car, they bounce off, and the car figures out its place in the world. But Tesla has now decided to do away with all of that in favor of running off cameras alone. Basically, the car just looks around and decides the safest action to take. Under the dashboard of your Tesla is a very powerful artificial intelligence computer that can see and recognize everything around the vehicle using 8 digital cameras. The car drives the same way that you do, just by looking and thinking. Tesla buyers who have received the new radarless Model Y, we've been hearing mixed reviews. Full autopilot only works up to a max speed of 75 miles per hour, so you can't speed and self-drive at the same time anymore. And while driving at night, autopilot can only function if the auto high beam settings is also turned on, and that hasn't gone over so well. Overall, people are noticing worse performance from autopilot in the rain and in the dark, which is not overly surprising given that the car can now only see through digital cameras. On the other hand, in the daylight, the system seems to work great. Owners are noticing that the camera-based autopilot is actually much smoother and less hesitant while self-driving. Collision detection and emergency braking seems to work just as well on the new Tesla as it does on the older ones. But it's hard to test this kind of thing in a real-world situation. One NHTSA rating that the Model Y is still holding strong, though, is that 5-star crash safety rating. We know that Tesla makes the safest cars on the road, but it took until 2021 for the Model Y to get its official crash test rating, and it passed with flying colors. Particularly in the rollover test, which is very important for an SUV, it's basically impossible to roll this car. Now, speaking of things that Tesla has removed from the Model Y, you will no longer find adjustable lumbar support in the passenger seat. It's a very oddly specific feature to remove, but the way Elon Musk describes it, he says that Tesla is actually able to look at data that tells them how often the feature is used in the real world, and it turns out that pretty much no one was actually setting a custom lumbar position in the passenger side. So they tossed the adjustment mechanism. You might be wondering just how much cost savings were able to come from removing extra hardware like the radar sensors and the back support adjuster. Well, the bad news is that the price of both versions of the Model Y has actually gone up, and we know that looks really bad on paper. But there is something that needs to be considered here, and that's the skyrocketing cost of raw materials, especially the materials needed to make electric vehicles. Take the price of copper, for example. That's nearly doubled over the last 6 months, and copper is an extremely conductive material that is vital to electric car making. Also, the cost of aluminum and steel are all up as well, not quite as drastically, but it adds up. There's not much that can be done about that, we just have to ride it out and hope the market stabilizes. The nice thing about Tesla is that they are not afraid to change the price often. So if they get the opportunity to bring it back down, they will. Until now, that we know it's a weird point to bring up, but if you spend any time researching this car, you'll notice a common customer complaint. That's how ineffective the windshield washer spray heads are. They just don't get the job done, and Tesla has actually solved the issue on the latest version of the Model Y. It now comes with more washer fluid jets, and you won't need to rely on the squeegee kids for a clean windshield. We think Tesla has added more windshield washer jets so that the windshield would stay cleaner because the autopilot system is relying more on the cameras now, as there are no sensors to rely on. We drive cars in all kinds of snow and weird weather out here in the US, so addition of the new windshield wipers would prove a great relief for many people. The latest Model Y now comes with double-paned glass for the windows. This helps to reduce wind and road noise from outside of the car and also will improve the efficiency of the heating and cooling system inside the car. Additionally, the side mirrors on the car will now have an auto-dimming feature, so you don't get blinded from bright lights coming up. The biggest upgrades on the new Model Y is not something that the average owner would ever see. It's actually in the frame of the car. The rear section of the vehicle frame is actually now die-casted by a humongous machine called the Gigapress. So that means that the rear quarter is all one solid piece of aluminum, and previously that same section of frame was around 70 different pieces of material, all welded and bolted and glued together. The casted frame is much faster and cheaper for Tesla to build, while also proving to be stronger and more consistent. Another common owner's complaint is the overall fit of the body. Many owners have noticed that the rear body panels always look a little bit crooked, like there's a big gap on one side and a narrow gap on the other. The casted frame section will go a long way towards solving that particular problem. The expanded seating option is one more thing that we've got to mention. Actually being practical to get 7 seats into a Model Y, it seemed that those extra seats would be next to useless. But now that the 7-seater option is out there in the world, it's important to talk about the real-life experience. It turns out that the third row of seating works pretty damn well. We have seen 6-foot-tall adults hop in the back and be able to sit down in there. Now obviously it's not the ideal 7-seater car, and it's not the replacement for a van or large SUV like the Model X. But it will do the job if you've committed to this particular car and you really need those 2 extra seats. Talking about one more good change is no more glossy door panel buttons. The older Model Y had piano gloss black buttons which used to scratch and dust easily. The buttons looked really worse after getting scratches on it, and it needed more cleaning also. But with the new model, you get matte black door buttons, which absolutely look stunning. The matte finish would not get scratches easily, as the old one did. Also, as it's a matte finish, it would not get dust easily. The most notable change that happened with the new Model Y and the Model 3, of course, is the new center console. The previous center console was okay, but the problem with it was susceptible to scratches and was unsightly, collecting dust and never really looked great. Now, it comes standard with a new flat finish that is a lot less prone to scratches and looks a lot better overall. Also, the charging pads up top now accommodate phones in a better way. Another exciting update is the new steering wheel. The scroll wheels are metal now, and that's okay, but the heating element in the steering wheel is really where the magic is. So now, these cars come with a heated steering wheel, and if you live in a cold climate, you're really going to love this. Even if you don't live in a cold climate, this feature can be very useful during the winter trips. Next one is an important improvement, that's the new battery pack. The performance model was reported to have a larger battery pack back in late 2020. However, the long range had continued to have the 78 kilowatt-hour battery pack for quite a bit of time. Sometime in 2021, between February and May, they did end up rolling out a bigger battery pack. We found this out from many new car owners who recently got the delivery of their new cars. So, the new Model Ys now have an 82 kilowatt-hour battery pack. Now, is Tesla going to roll out additional range with that new battery pack? That's yet to be determined, but it very well could be coming. They could just keep that additional buffer to maintain your full charge range for a longer period of time. Moving to the last change is the new tail lights. The new tail lights are actually different now in the new Model Y performance cars. Here's a picture comparing old versus new tail lights. Also, the turn signals are now amber instead of red. The new turn signals seem much brighter and a lot easier to see compared to old ones. So overall the new lights look great and seem brighter than older ones. These were all the changes that we noticed. Did you find any other? Let us know in the comments. So the bottom line is, the current version of the Y is an incredible vehicle. The combination of practicality and performance really can't be matched, and with these extra refinements that have just been added, it's an easy choice to make. That's it for now. So what are your thoughts about this? Let us know in the comments. Stay tuned at the Electric Arena for all the latest Tesla and electric vehicle news.